Hey guys, it's Amanda over at AmandaReads, and today I'm coming to you with a really exciting book review. Now, if you watched my last mini book haul, you know that I was chosen to be a part of the Booktube tours this month, and I was chosen to review the books Curse of the Sphinx and Demigods and Monsters by Raye Wagner. There will be a non-spoiler section at the beginning, and then it will turn into a spoilery review, so if you have not read the books, you can still watch the first few minutes of this video, and I will let you know when the spoilers will begin. First of all, I want to just go over my ratings for these books. I gave Curse of the Sphinx 4 stars, and I gave Demigods and Monsters 5 stars. I do want to give a brief synopsis. Basically, this series centers around a girl named Hope who is secretly a sphinx. In this world, mythology is real, and demigods, gods, and monsters all actually coexist with humans and are known about. Because Hope is a sphinx, which is considered a monster, she is actually being hunted by demigods and Skia, which are kind of beings sent by Hades to kill her. They want her dead. So Hope has to constantly live in hiding and figure out ways to survive and stay away from those that are trying to kill her. To make matters more complicated, 2 days in each month, I believe, she actually turns into the Sphinx and has to disappear and leave everyone. So she definitely gets questioned a lot about her whereabouts and what she's been doing. I have a few things that I want to say I really liked about these two books. And the first thing is how both books had really fast-paced, action-packed plots. I never felt like there was a dragging moment. I read each of these books almost in one sitting each, and they're over 300 pages long, but I felt like I was just reading them so quickly, and I was really engrossed in the story as I was reading. I also felt that Raye Wagner did an amazing job with the progression of her stories. Each story leads into the other one, but it doesn't give you so much of a cliffhanger that you're unsatisfied. You feel like you get an entire story with that book and that the next adventure is going to begin. So even though I really want to read the next book, I feel super satisfied. There weren't a ton of loose ends, and I feel like she does a nice job of wrapping up the story and making you feel like, okay, I can wait for the next one. It's not the end of the world, but I still really want to read it. The third thing I really liked were the characters in both of these stories. Even the negative characters who you don't like as people, you actually still enjoy reading about and seeing what they're doing and how they act. Something else I really liked is that with the progression of these plots, Raye is making sure that the reader gets to explore way more than one setting. So the first book takes place in a different setting than the second book, and we know that the third book is going to take place in a different setting as well. Raye is really giving the readers a look into the landscape of the entire world and the different aspects. And the last thing I want to talk about in this non-spoiler section are things that bothered me when I was reading, and one of the things that kind of got on my nerves in the first book, but it didn't really happen in the second book, was the amount of slang and terms that were used throughout the first book. Because this is a time where mythology is real and gods exist and things like that, their expressions are different than what our expressions are. So instead of saying, oh my god, they say, oh my gods, or by the gods. And there would be about 5 of these references on the same page. So that was something that I didn't really enjoy. I kind of found it almost distracting in the first book, but then in the second book, it was still there and it still existed, but she kind of relaxed with it a little bit, and I really liked that about the second book. These books were also self-published by Raye Wagner herself, so there were some typos, and there were not a lot, and it was not a big deal. I personally just get extremely distracted by typos, so that's kind of my own problem, but there were a few typos within both of these stories. And the last thing that kind of made me upset was that I really wish that there were more of the characters in the first book in the second book. We don't get a completely new cast of characters in the second book. We still reference those characters in the first book, but it just felt like Hope had moved on from that cast of characters in the first book, and I really liked some of those characters, and I wish that they had been more part of it. I really hope that Raye brings some of those great characters back as the series progresses. If you have not read these books yet, you should probably leave unless you want me to ruin both of the books for you, which is not nice, so I would just go if I were you. But thank you for watching the non-spoiler part of my review, and I hope that these books sound interesting to you. You should definitely pick them up. I really enjoyed reading them, and I'm so glad I had that opportunity. And we are now going to move into the spoiler section. So one thing I want to mention is Hope in these two books. I really loved Hope 10 times more in the second book than the first book. A lot of negative things happened to her in the first book, and she spends a lot of time trying to move on from that. But I also felt like she was having so much of a pity party and kind of pushing people away, and she was very moody. In the second book, she's taking matters into her own hands. She's strong, she's determined, she's feeling independent. I just felt like she was such a good heroine in the second book. I really want to talk about some of these crazy scenes that happened in both the first and the second book. Let's talk about the opening scene of the first book, where we watch Hope's mom get murdered. Apollo has her soul ripped out of her body, and it is crazy. I was dying laughing when Hope encounters Mirren in the grocery store. Oh my god. Mirren is this little old lady, and she just walks up to Hope in the grocery store, and she's just like, kitty, kitty, kitty. Also, Mirren says to Hope, pussycat, pussycat, where have you been? Oh. Ugh. Ugh. Hope's like pretty freaked out, but this lady is wacko at the same time. One of the most satisfying scenes was when Hope takes down the principal. I mean, he's just being a huge dick, and we never really find out what he has against Hope, because she says she's a straight A student, she's keeping up with her work when she's not there, and he won't get off her case. And it's like he has a huge problem with her specifically, but it never comes to fruition. We never know what the problem was that he had with her. And when she just goes off on him and is like, by the way, I'm unenrolling and you're a piece of shit basically, and like you need to do your job, it was so satisfying. And I felt like that was the moment when Hope kind of started to shift her thinking and be like, hey, I need to stick up for myself because there's no one else that's gonna do it, and I need to do it for myself. And I felt like that was really her coming into herself moment, and that's when I really started to like her more. This next thing I'm gonna talk about really bothered me. So Paul married Hope's mom, and then Hope's mom died, and Paul said those horrible things to Hope. Technically, I mean, I guess he's not like her stepdad because he didn't adopt her, I don't think, but like, he was about to be her father. I don't understand his motivation. I don't know. I just felt like he seemed like a great guy, and for the horrible things he said to Hope, she didn't deserve any of that. She didn't do anything wrong. She did what her mother had always told her to do. And then when her friend started being a dick to her too, I was like, yo, are you perfect? Like, what the hell? Hope didn't make your dad marry her mom. In the second book, Briareus, he casually is killing Hope in the library. What the fuck? Like, this guy needs to get his emotions in check. And finally, my favorite scene, it was like the most badass and also the most creepy, when Hope is getting the shit kicked out of her. Apollo's sons, they're beating the crap out of Hope, like trying to kill her. Apollo comes down out of nowhere and is like, you think you can do this to her? You think you can do this and I won't pay attention? Because he's obsessed, obviously, with marrying the Sphinx or being with the Sphinx and having kids. You know, he's the only one she can be with. He views the Sphinx as his property. So he's pissed at his sons that they would go and kill the Sphinx when the Sphinx is his. And he gets so mad that he kills 4 of his kids. I'm sitting there thinking, this guy just killed 4 of his sons. He's a bad guy. We don't want Hope to be with him. At the same time, that was really badass, and now we don't have to worry about those 4 people. So I thought it was crazy that Raye just literally wiped out 4 characters that were hunting hope. I can only imagine that that means that we're going to meet even worse characters or characters like them. Now, I want to end this review with some questions that I still have going around in my mind. I don't think that any of these are actually answered in the books. If they are, please comment down below and correct me or fill me in because I might have missed it. So the first question I have is, why did it take so long for Ethan to figure out that Hope was the Sphinx? In the first scene, Ethan is in the home, or he's invisible or whatever, and he's watching Hope's mom get her soul sucked out. And he finds out that Hope's mom is the Sphinx and that she has a daughter. One thing that Ethan notices in the apartment is the word hope spelled out on the mantelpiece. So maybe he just thought it was the word hope, like we have hope. Okay, that's fine. But then, when you go to the place where the Sphinx is known to be, and you meet a girl named Hope, why does it not click? Why does he think she's a demigod? Why doesn't he think, Hope, why do I know that? Oh, that Sphinx that we just saw get killed, she had a daughter, and the word Hope is on the mantelpiece. Could that have been this girl's name? Could that be her daughter? I just don't know why it took him so long to make that connection. Another question I have. How, at the end of the first book, did Ethan and his father, Hermes, mistake Hope's voice for Mirren's? Because I'm picturing Mirren as this like crazy lady. You know, he spends so much time with Hope. He knows what Hope's voice is like. So when he hears someone going, Ethan, he says, it says in the book that it's Mirren, and then the next page he's like, oh, it wasn't Mirren, it was Hope. Well, how the heck did you not realize it was Hope? You spend time with her, she says your name all the time, you're like obsessed with her, you should know what her voice sounds like, you shouldn't mistake it for Mirren's. Also, this is something that confused me. Hope goes back to Haley's house, and she's fighting off the son of Apollo that's trying to get Haley and her father. She like actually beats up one of the three sons that are there. So my question is, when the three sons get to the conservatory, how does the one she beat the crap out of not be like, I know you? It just seemed weird to me that he wasn't like, you. Or maybe he just fights so many people, including demigods, that he just wasn't fazed by it. This is a question that I think I just overlooked, and I would love if you read these books to tell me down below. How does Poseidon know Hope? Also, something that confused me was, why did the Sons of Apollo hold Prisca? Because don't we find out that she is a demigod because her mother is Artemis? I think I'm a little bit mixed up and a little bit confused about how you know if you're a demigod or not. But I'm pretty sure she's a demigod. So why did the Sons of Apollo hold her and torture her? Another thing that like upset me was in the second book, Hope yells, Skia! In the middle of this market, and the humans react. They like jump up and they're like, Skia, where? And they're like running away, and Hope is fighting, and it's crazy, and everyone understands that Skia equals bad thing. But in the first book, when poor Brand is being murdered in the hallway of a high school, he's being stabbed, and he's saying that there's something on him. No one does a thing. No teachers come help. Everyone is too scared to move. I don't get it. I was like, why is no one doing anything? So those are all my questions. And then I have one thing that was addressed in the second book that I think we will see more of throughout the series, and that is Dahlia's husband. So we know that they were married for 3 wonderful years and that he just disappeared. And I feel like he's somewhere and he is going to be a big part of the series. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm going to be really sad because that's like an unsolved mystery. But I really hope that Raye wouldn't do that to us and that she would offer, you know, tie up all those loose ends and offer us some peace of mind, even if it's just to find out that he's not alive anymore. Something. So that is my review on the first 2 books in the Sphinx series. I can't wait to read the third one. I'm really excited for that setting and to see how the characters continue to progress. I just want to say thank you again to Grace over at Love and Dem Books for doing booktube tours so that readers like me are able to become exposed to books that we weren't aware of. And I really want to thank Raye for sending me these books and I had such a great time reading them and being a part of this booktube tour. If you've read these books, I'd love to know if you could comment down below what your favorite part of each of the books were. I'm still trying to figure out what my favorite part of the first book was. My favorite part of the second book is Apollo just annihilating his 4 sons, because I felt so relieved and like a weight was lifted off my shoulders once that happened. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys soon with a new video, and bye guys!